Welcome to another edition of Crime News with Mark Solomon. It is Thursday, August 26, 2021, and today we're going to be doing an overview / wrap-up on the preliminary hearing phase of Barry Morphew's case. Stay tuned. But before we get to that, don't forget to click like with subscribe and the little bell next to it to be notified of future videos. If you're enjoying this video, you might enjoy the next one even more. You never know. Click the bell and find out. Don't forget that this is like the 5th video in a 5-part series where I did a video just a couple days ago after day 3. We did another one about why we care about the infidelity. I did one about the facts that came out after the first 2 days. And also we did one here, which was a deep dive into the court filings just before the preliminary hearing. So if you want to get any of that, don't forget to click on all those other videos. Today, we're going to be doing a wrap-up or an overview on what's happened in the preliminary hearing. So let's get to that. Let's just recap what a preliminary hearing is. That's where the prosecution has to prove to a judge that a reasonable person could believe that a crime has been committed and that this is the person who may have very well committed it. It's called probable cause. The judge hears evidence and decides whether or not the case should proceed to trial. Now, in this case, spoiler alert, judge hasn't ruled. He's going to do that on September 17. We'll be back to let you know what happened. And for today, we need to know what the judge heard in the 4 days of testimony. And remember, 4 days is a really long preliminary hearing. And this was also the hearing to present evidence on whether or not the defendant should be denied bail, because this is a first-degree murder case. So let's go ahead and get to the facts that the judge heard. The prosecution called witnesses, FBI agents, and so forth, and they found that there were trash drops. In other words, Barry Morphew, on the day that his wife disappeared, took trash about 3 hours away. How did he do that? He drove from Salida 2 hours and 48 minutes past Denver up to Broomfield, which is where he was supposed to have some work. And he then went to about 5 different trash sites inside of Broomfield. And in that, he dropped a different bag of trash in a different place all over Broomfield. And that's pretty gosh darn suspicious when that happens on the same day your wife goes missing. They found tranquilizer darts and a tranquilizer gun. Now, the tranquilizer gun was non-functional, but I had a number of viewers comment that, guess what? You don't need the gun to be able to hit somebody with a tranquilizer dart. All you have to do is stab them with it. But how easy is it to break the tranquilizer gun after you use it in a crime? Not very difficult at all. One of my viewers even posted a comment posting to another YouTube video where you can fix tranquilizer guns. So there's that too. The police interviewed Barry in the days after Suzanne's disappearance. They found cuts on his hands. He was already speaking of his wife in the past tense. He literally came out, and I think it was yesterday in day 3 or 4, he asked for immunity for his talking to the police. Now, I talked about this in 2 days ago's video. This could go either way. Somebody could want immunity, so they can't possibly be charged with the things that they're talking about, but they could also be asking for immunity because they have something to be immune from. Also, he changed his story. 2 plates to 1 plate. He said he made steaks, had a great dinner, and they each had a plate of steak, and they only found 1 plate in the dishwasher. So he changed his story. He said, oh yeah, I forgot. We each ate 1 steak off the same plate, and that's why there was only 1 steak. Little suspicious there too. There was also evidence on day 1 of the breakup where proven that Barry got a text from Suzanne saying that she was done, presumably with the relationship. Of course, there was also a lot of evidence about the affair she was having. I did a good explanation on this topic too. Why do we care about the extramarital affair? There's some evidence to indicate that he knew about it, others to indicate that he didn't. I'm not really sure where this fell, but the fact that she was having an affair is relevant because if he knew about it, it would give him motive to be jealous. And that's basically it. We're not trying to smear the victim in this case. He might have also been having an affair. We don't really know about that either. Whether that makes a difference, I'm not really sure. But that leads us to the most circumstantial part of this case, which is the fact that we don't really know conclusively that she's in fact, deceased. The evidence of her death is circumstantial. My video from 2 days ago talks a great deal about how circumstantial evidence versus direct evidence works in Colorado. We went over the jury instruction. Go ahead and look at that video. It's a good explanation of why I think this is still a very, very good case. Obviously, the prosecutors do too. Basically, after her disappearance on May 9, 2020, they say it could have been the 10th, but probably the 9th. She has had no contact with absolutely anybody. No family or friends have heard from her. It's been almost a year and a half, and her phone is missing, and there's no activity on her phone either. Is it possible that she simply ran away from him and is hiding someplace off the grid and doesn't want to be found? Yes. Is it likely at this point? No, because again, most people do not just disappear from the face of the earth with no trace. And that's kind of where we are on the circumstantial part. They have to be able to prove that he not only murdered her, but also disposed of her body. I think the trash bags are a good body of evidence to be able to do that. And the fact that her electronic social trails have gone completely cold as of that day, what with all the other circumstantial evidence, this is a good case for trial. Let's see, 2 days ago, I gave you an example of another Colorado case where somebody was convicted in a murder case without a body. And here we have yet another one that was suggested by another one of my viewers. This is the Donthe Lucas case, where he was found guilty of first-degree murder in the death of Kelsie Schelling. And this was literally just back in March of this year in Pueblo, where they never found her body either. He was convicted and sentenced to prison for that murder. And in this case, the facts were a little bit different, but substantially similar. Schelling disappeared February 4 in 2013 after driving from her home in Denver down to Pueblo to meet him for a surprise. She was 8 weeks pregnant with his child when she vanished and found out that she was pregnant earlier that day, that she had disappeared. Prosecutors argued that this was the reason for her death and that he had lured her to Pueblo to kill her, but the only trace left behind was her abandoned car found in a hospital in Pueblo, which he was seen on surveillance video moving just days after she disappeared. So again, the investigator, I'm not sure how they got this. I didn't go too deep into this case, but an investigator in this case who was active in the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, or CBI, testified that they believed she was strangled by him after she came to Pueblo. How the heck would they know that without a body? I have no earthly clue. But during the trial, they heard an interview of Lucas done by Pueblo police officers after his 2017 arrest, where he denied doing anything, though he did admit to the dropping off the vehicle. And so they've looked and they've still not found her body. Very sad. So other things that had come out in the preliminary hearing that I think is a little less relevant. 3 unknown DNA matches on the glove box of Suzanne Morphew's vehicle. Why is that not so important? Why do I think that's not important? Answer is because in anybody's car, we have people in it over the days, months, and years before an investigation happens. How many people have sat in your passenger seat and put their DNA on your glove box? If anybody's ever sat there, that's absolutely possible. There was another interesting fact that came out that it's interesting. I don't know how relevant it is, but they found a live .22 caliber round next to Suzanne Morphew's bed. Now, this is an actual .22 caliber bullet. They did not say in this article that it was a blank. If it was a blank, this could have been something that was in the tranquilizer gun that they had found. And remember, the tranquilizer gun was something that they had testimony that tranquilizer gun would have had an effect on a 120-pound human like Suzanne Morphew, and she would have been virtually incapacitated within 2 to 3 minutes of being shot with a tranquilizer gun. But in this case, they were just, this article was just talking about finding a .22 bullet, and just in and of itself, a bullet doesn't really say much. They didn't say anything about a gun that shoots 22 rounds other than that tranquilizer gun. And if you put a bullet in a tranquilizer gun, I would be willing to bet that would be bad, but I do not know. And remember, all the links that I'm talking to are in the description below. So if you want to look at these articles yourself, please do. Let me know what you think. Next thing I thought was interesting. Here's an article that talks about the cuts on his hands and how the officers believed that he was shedding crocodile tears. Crocodile tears being the phenomena where somebody is boo-hoo-hooing, saying, oh my goodness, my wife is gone, when in fact they're the perpetrator of the crime. That's what the officers believed by that comment. And the cuts on his hands would have been just as consistent with his potentially preparing a body to be moved or being in a struggle with his wife. And that is basically what we've got in the preliminary hearing. The judge is set to rule on probable cause on September 17. It is an in-person appearance at 1:30 in the afternoon in Chaffee County Division 2. And so that's what I've got for today on the Barry Morphew case. Now, there were a couple people who are suggesting some videos that they wanted me to do in the future, like Charlie Routier and Alex Sharkey. If you have any suggestions of something you'd like, I'd love to hear it. Put it in the comments. But that's what I've got for you today. We'll be back absolutely in the next couple days, and certainly on September 17th with the ruling. And until then, any questions, thoughts, comments, anything, please put them in the comments below. I will get to them. And until then, thank you for watching.